All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Hello all. Thank you for being here, everyone. We have the crew together. Kim is on board.
Kim, how are you?
And Tony is on
Thanks,
board.
Tony.
Tony and I actually have been meeting about various pieces of media that we can share with you. Today, of course, in the second hour, the great Cay Johnston, Pulitzer Prize winner. We will speak about, obviously, what's going on in the courtroom in New York with the Stormy Daniels testimony. And I will just remind everybody, and I'll get more into this as the show goes on, it doesn't matter that Trump had an affair with Stormy Daniels. It just doesn't matter. It's not illegal. Paying her off to stay quiet isn't illegal. That is all just lurid kind of fun, tee-hee detail. The key is to establish that he paid her off to keep this out of the political race that he was in for president. That's the key. So that's really the challenge to prosecutors to do that. In the meantime, we'll talk to Cay Johnston about some of the strides that the defense has made. I've got Social Security in the news. I have AI in the news. I have an update on our meetup. So there's a lot going on. And thank you for your emails, which come in regularly to the Mark Thompson Show at gmail.com. Get a lot of stuff from shadow producer Calvin Wong. And I also get an update on how to see the chat in replay. Apparently, this was a frustration on the other show that Kim does, which is, one of the other shows she does, which is Nikki's show. Mm-hmm. There's a frustration that they couldn't see the chat replay. If you watch the show right after it's aired and you want to see the chat, the replay of the live chat isn't usually available. We have no control over that. That is stuff that YouTube does. They look at the chat, of course. AI looks at it to see, to clear it essentially and make sure it's cool. And then it's usually posted typically within the hour. But if you watch the show right after it's been up, after the live show, then the live chat is not there. Comments are still live. But speaking of comments being live, I get some good after hours commenting. And so we read all your comments. So if you comment after hours, please know that those comments are read. We crave input. And in fact, I actually had a pretty good conversation yesterday about things we might do to create something of a clearinghouse for input and for opinions on certain things that we're considering with the show. So please stay tuned for that. We will update you on it. But for now, if you have a thought about something, you can always send it to, as I say, the Mark Thompson Show at gmail.com. Any updates from your world, Tony? The man with 15 jobs who is, you're okay, Tony?
Thanks, Tony.
Oh, yeah. I slept a little bit. I'm good.
All right. And Kim, who just has 3 jobs that I know of. Everything okay with you, Kim?
Kim, how are you?
Everything's fine over here.
Okay. And a big shout out to Sandra Thomas. Big shout out. Wow. Sandra Thomas with a $10 super sticker.
That's really nice.
If you put a P and an S-O-N on Sandra's last name, you lose the A-S. She's Sandra Thompson. I love it.
Big shout out.
Yeah, that's a bit tortured. You're right. Sandra Thomas, thank you so much. This early, I always love when people come in. We're a crowdfunded show, and so thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so you are going to tell us how we can see chat from live show or not?
Well, it's a little complicated, but we
It
got
is?
this.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, because we don't have control over it, right? But we got an email where someone has figured out how to make that chat show up. And I think there's a lot of steps. So if you want me to forward you the message, I'm happy to do that. Send me a.
Well, I got the message, but if you, I'll explain it briefly. I actually don't think it's very complicated, but maybe it is. Maybe I'm not understanding it correctly. But what I would say to teacher Lori G. and others who've asked about it is the first thing I'd say is contact us at themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com, and we'll forward on this explainer email.
Yeah.
That said, let me quickly explain. As I said, you have to wait 45 minutes or an hour. After that, the live chat populates, as it should, okay? If you don't see it right away, if you're looking on your phone, let's say, you're generally seeing comments. That's the first thing that's there. If you want the live chat, you have to take that spot where it says comments and just slide it over. And that's where the live chat is. Is it more complicated than that,
When
Kim?
you say it like that, it sounds really easy. When I look at the email with all these steps and the this is and the that, it looks like, oh God.
Well,
how am I
that's
gonna
what I
remember
felt.
that?
When I'm looking at the email, I'm thinking, this is looking way more complicated than it is, really.
This is no picnic, no summer camp.
It actually is. It's super easy. It is a picnic.
Mark, it's like I'm looking at yesterday's show. See, it says top chat replay. You just click and.
Yeah,
live
well, if
chat
you're on
replay.
if you're on a laptop, it's really easy, I think.
But
if you're on a phone, I understand it doesn't come up with live chat right away. It says comments. But if you take that comment and you push it to the left, there's the live chat. It's anyway. It's really not complicated. Thank you, Vicky and Sausalito, for backing me up. But teacher Lori G, please forward it to me, Kim. So, Kim,
Okay,
you're in
do it.
charge of getting Lori G up to
I'm
speed.
doing it right now.
I don't know why Lori G, if you're new to the show, she's like here early. She stays throughout. She contributes to the show, meaning she, is a back and forth in the chat. And somehow she wants to see the live chat again. I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, you're part of the live. Maybe, well, to be honest, maybe you want to see.
You missed something. You want to go back?
Yeah,
and look
you
at
missed
it.
something.
Yeah,
Okay,
whatever.
I'll give you that. All right, look, I don't want to turn this into a big thing. It's just
You do not know what you are talking about.
it's true. I don't know what I'm talking about. All right, so that's that. Please contact us, and we'll forward on that email to you, and you will be able to see the live chat. But it is as easy as just sliding it over to the left, and you've got it. So
The Mark Thompson Show.
while there's a lot going on in New York, the stand has been taken by Stormy Daniels, as I was mentioning in our open. There's also testimony about any number of things related to bigger government issues. I mean, stuff that doesn't have anything to do with Donald Trump. The emerging crisis potentially in the world of Social Security. You want to run this piece, Tony, now, the ABC piece on the Stormy Daniels Trump stuff? But I'll tell you what I, draw your attention to, and I think this piece does this well, I think, is the connection that they have to draw between the payoffs and the campaign. That's the key connection. Again, paying somebody off for an affair to keep it quiet, keep it out of your wife's radar, off your wife's radar, or keep it out of the family business, that's not illegal. And so that's not what the essence of this case is about. Here's a little bit from ABC's Aaron Katersky, I
Aaron,
believe
what's
this
the
is.
latest from court, and what do you make of Stormy Daniels' testimony so far?
It has captured the attention of everyone in that courtroom, even if Donald Trump himself and his son Eric, who's sitting in the gallery behind him, are doing their best to look disinterested and look away from Stormy Daniels. The jury is certainly captivated by her description of what she says was a sexual encounter between her and Donald Trump back in 2006 in a large hotel suite at Harrah's in Lake Tahoe, California. Stormy Daniels said that she had been there as part of an adult film production company sponsoring a hole at a golf tournament, and she described in vivid detail, almost too much detail for the judge at times, who asked prosecutors to move it along, how she was in the suite. She remembered being in the bathroom and seeing a leather toiletry case. She remembered Old Spice and Pert Plus. And then when she walked out of the bathroom, she said she remembered seeing Donald Trump there on the bed. were you threatened? Prosecutor Susan Hoffinger asked her. She said, well, there was a power imbalance and he was sort of blocking the way, but she said she didn't feel threatened. Eventually the two had sex, she said, but as she began to describe that encounter, the sexual encounter, that's when the defense objected and the judge sustained the objection.
Jury, Stormy Daniels has gone into a lot of detail here, as Aaron explained, not only about what happened that day on the golf course, that night at the hotel room, and also what happened thereafter. How is the defense going to cross-examine her on this and try to challenge her?
This is good.
Well, they're going to try to make her into a liar, but I don't know how they're going to succeed. The level of detail is it's exquisite detail. And it sounds very believable. I'm not in the courtroom, but from all the reports, it seems as if she described their encounter with such vivid detail that it has to be believable.
I mean, you can just find that Old Spice and that perk, the Pert Plus, and you know that she was there. It actually happened. But again, the connection is the thing that they have to establish, not the fact that she was there and that the two rolled around together. So the other thing that happened, of course, is the judge threatening jail time because of Donald Trump sort of shaking off all the contempt rulings. We'll ask David Cay Johnston about the realities. One of the things that has been spoken of by David Katz, who's our regular legal analysis guy on Thursdays, is the series of things that the judge could do that don't involve throwing Donald Trump into Rikers Island or whatever. I mean, he could just put him in that holding cell for the lunch break or whatever. So we'll touch on that again with David Cay Johnston, and of course, as the week unfolds with David Katz. I mean, to be fair to Trump, which is a weird thing to say, it's been a while since he's been really held in contempt. It's been a few weeks, hasn't it? So he, again, there's legitimate concern here. This isn't just all a cat and mouse game. When you start smearing the jury the way he has and creating the us versus them sort of picture of things that he's doing with America, you know, the Democrats, the radical left, he really creates a red versus blue America. He creates those people are the problem kind of America. And he's doing that in the courtroom. He's creating the enemies. You know, the press was the enemy of the state. And in the courtroom, he says the jury sort of is made up of 95% Democrats, and therefore they are the enemy. When you do that, you create a danger to the jury, is the judge's general disposition. So you'd think a billionaire would have fancier deodorant than Old Spice. Did you say John Watson?
Yeah. Oops, sorry. I was reading how long could he be thrown in jail for contempt of court, and I was reading it's a period of not more than 30 days, so much likely less than that, but not more.
Well, as David Katz said, and it's up in a short, I'd love it if you guys could share some of our shorts. They're only 60 seconds. That's why they call them shorts. And they're a little snippet of a conversation that we've had on the show, and they help grow our footprint, and it costs you nothing to share them. So if you can share them on Facebook, if you have a Facebook page, you go, hey, I watched this show. I really like this take that this guest had on something. Whatever you say, it does help get the word out. But anyway, more to the point. So in this short, David actually details the fact in this little 60-second period, the fact that Trump can be either sentenced for 30 days, or if the judge really wanted to go to town, you stack the contempt citations, in effect, on top of each other. And you could actually put them in on a cumulative level for much longer than 30 days. Now, that's not going to happen. And it would be unlikely that, based on everything I know that you've read, that I've read, that you've heard, that I've heard, that every expert on this show and others agree, that it'll have to be something wildly egregious or direct for the judge to really take the kind of next step that he's warned. He's warned him about jail. It could happen, but it's going to have to be a real in-your-face kind of contempt of court.
But the judge said, listen, I don't want to put you in jail, but I got a job to do. So if you keep messing up, if you keep doing this, then this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
no, it's true.
yeah.
I mean, he definitely put him on notice. So, interesting sort of off the Trump thing. I know we'll get to more Trump and everything with David Cay Johnston, but
The Mark Thompson Show.
Did you see just in the offbeat that the woman who doubled for Lynda Carter as Wonder Woman passed away? This is the stunt woman who doubled Lynda Carter in the Wonder Woman TV series and did a bunch of stunts in the Fast and Furious and Kill Bill. She was in that. So she's really like one of those working stunt people. They're under-heralded. They've just been added as a category at the Oscars. And there she is, a founding member in 1968 of the Stunt Women's Association of Motion Pictures. Jeannie Epper was 83 years old. She was also in Catch Me If You Can, Romancing the Stone, The Amazing Spider-Man, and The Princess Diaries. She was spotlighted in Double Dare, the documentary about stunt women. Might be worth a watch. She is described as the greatest stunt woman who has ever lived.
Wow.
Yeah. Many agreed. She was not only a pioneer as a stunt woman, but so good at the craft. She became one of the first child stunt doubles when she began her career at age 9. There she is with Lynda Carter. Again, she doubled Lynda Carter in the Wonder Woman TV series. She became president of the Stunt Women's Association of Motion Pictures in 1999. So we just we saw it and we thought we'd give it a mention because she is someone that, again, goes unnoticed, but nonetheless made a great contribution to a lot of entertainment and entertainment vehicles. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
Bird flu is widening, everyone. It's a great, it's a great time to receive the next pandemic. This is a huge, huge story that is not getting reported. Why is it huge? Because this is a new emerging infectious disease, and it comes again from animals. A wide range of animals have been infected, and it is spreading in dairy cattle and in dairy workers, and that's how the jump is made. So the idea is that this has to be snuffed out, but even as you try to snuff out this entire spread, what do? You know, it's certainly not getting the kind of play that COVID-19 got. This is the map that shows the counties where this avian flu has been detected in wild mammals since 2022. It's an ongoing story. You talked about it, Kim, while I was away with
I had Dr.
Peter Chin Hong, didn't you?
On the show. Yeah.
What did he say?
He said that our food supply is safe, that the fragments that have been found in dairy milk were just that, fragments. And so far, his worry was for the farm workers or the agriculture workers, as you mentioned. And he went through a list of things not to do, which is don't drink unpasteurized milk and don't handle dead creatures at this time.
Well, there goes my afternoon. The handling dead creatures is
right?
a big part of my afternoon.
There you go. I mean, I guess if you work on a farm, that's something that would be part of your job. So.
Of course. No, that's exactly right. And it's farm workers, of course, that, once again, have the greatest exposure and probably represent the greatest opportunity for things to leap into the human population. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
I'd love to do some law and disorder, and I will warn you, Tony, I really want to touch on the story that, to be fair, Kim tried to get us to do yesterday, which would have been cool because it was everywhere by last night, and that's the church pastor story, But, you wanted us to do it in Televangelist Theater, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Now, let me
I
see
missed
if
Televangelist Theater. That was one of my favorite segments.
Yeah, it was good. For those who don't, we on the radio, we did a segment regularly called Televangelist Theater. Yeah. Well, we could do it. Tony, do you have the video with? No, you don't. Just Google church pastor gunman church.
Google it.
I think you'll find it's pretty much everywhere. But yes, Televangelist Theater was great because we really gave a lot of. Because it was audio only or on the radio, we didn't really need anybody to, get us video of a pastor saying these crazy things. Audio was enough for us to, really go to town. So that was the way we...
Let me kick down the door and talk to my cheap sons and daughters.
Exactly. So we were really able to do stuff with that world. So we did it in a segment that we will bring back as a tip of the hat to our old radio show. This is
Televangelist Theater.
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
Here's your host, Mark Thompson.
Well, we have but one story for you in Televangelist Theater, but man, it's a good one. It's bizarre always when a place of worship becomes a place of violence. This is violence averted. A man pointing a gun at a church pastor before he is tackled. Tony, show them the magic of the Lord. Oh, look at that. God. The gun jammed, which is the only reason that pastor is still alive. He gave no warning as he walked toward the front of Jesus' Dwelling Place Church in Pennsylvania, raised the gun toward the pastor's face and pulled the trigger. I'm thankful to God that I'm still here because he definitely pulled the trigger, the pastor said. The gunman attempted to shoot, but the firearm failed to discharge, said the cops. It was captured, if you're wondering.
That's crazy.
It was captured on the church's live-streamed video. That's the reason we have this video we're showing you. It's not clear still why the suspect tried to shoot the pastor. The pastor said he'd never seen the guy before. All of a sudden, I just see a gun pointing at me, he said. At that point, all I could do was run for cover. And as he ran, the church's cameraman rushed the gunman. That's who the guy is that
was
you
so
see tackling him.
Brave of that cameraman. I mean, he runs up like it's nothing, but that's a risk.
Of course, you're absolutely right. And he leapt that barrier.
Yeah. Like cameraman / security.
Yeah, who knew? I mean, more and more, you just don't know where this stuff's going to, where crazy with a gun is going to show up.
God.
But there it is. A wild story out of Pennsylvania and out of the church there. So, that, I believe, is Televangelist Theater for today.
This has been Televangelist Theater.
Tony, give me some law and disorder, if you would, please.
In the criminal justice system, the people...
Pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care...
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law, you're the fuzz, the heat, you're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
Where to start in America's courts? TikTok is suing the U.S. government, saying that the ban on TikTok, which, as you know, has been signed by Joe Biden, passed by Congress, violates the First Amendment. They are suing, and they say that this new law violates their right to free speech. There is no question that the act will force a shutdown of TikTok by January 19th, 2025. This is what they're saying in their filing. Silencing in that process 170 million Americans who use the platform to communicate in ways that cannot be replicated elsewhere. People don't want their TikTok taken away, Kim. And they don't want their ByteDance taken away, the company that owns TikTok. Now, probably what the government would say is we're not saying that TikTok has to close. We're saying it can't be owned, the controlling share, by a Chinese company. Still, isn't this government involvement in the free market. All I hear is about the free market and America's free market, but boy, we have a lot of controls on our market, which is why I always challenge that free market argument. Nonetheless, this is their latest. This isn't a filing to suggest it's a violation of free market policy. It is a filing to suggest it's a violation of First Amendment rights. Meantime, in Law and Disorder, Walmart is going to pay shoppers up to $500. It'll be a part of a $45 million legal settlement for overcharging them.
No.
It's a class action lawsuit that accuses Walmart of overcharging for certain items. And shoppers, if you submit a claim form by June 5th, you get a payment. Those without a receipt are only entitled to between $10 and $25. But Walmart is shelling out $45 million as part of this settlement. They were overcharging for certain pay-by-weight items like produce. The maximum amount you can get, though, is $500. The lawsuit said that Walmart falsely inflates the product weight and overcharges customers.
Oh, they're scoundrels.
Yeah. It's a...
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal.
I guess it is. Now they will pay.
And the little the weights and measures guy that comes around and makes sure that your scales are properly calibrated. Is that how they found out?
Yeah, and now they're properly calibrated. He comes around in Walmart's case, and right, the government guy comes around is one thing. But, of course, those regulators will all be eliminated under a GOP administration. So Boeing is facing 10 more whistleblowers. 2 have died, I'll remind you. 1 committed suicide, and another died under mysterious circumstances, many are saying. The attorneys for both those men hope that the deaths don't scare away the at least 10 more whistleblowers who want the company to clean up its act. The quality auditor at Spirit Aero System, which assembles the fuselage sections for Boeing, he died, Joshua Dean, he's 45 years old. He died a week ago from a fast-growing mystery infection. But there are others who still have to step forward. And the second part of the guy's testimony, who was the first whistleblower who died, there he is. The guy who worked for Boeing for 32 years, you're seeing a picture of him now, he was found dead in his Dodge Ram truck, holding a silver pistol in his hand in the parking lot of his South Carolina hotel. Again, this after he failed to show up for that second part of the testimony, the whistleblower testimony. This is the bombshell lawsuit against Boeing. Boeing losing money. They lost $355 million, they say, on falling revenue in the first quarter. So the crisis at Boeing is affecting their bottom line as well. But there you see one of the things affecting that company. Their aircrafts are being beset by more and more issues. There was the slide that fell off one jet. There was the door that blew off another jet. Meantime, a Democrat is accused of accepting $600,000 in bribes.
What?
Even more surprising, it was not Senator Menendez, everybody.
What?
It was, Henry Cuellar. He's charged with accepting $600,000 in bribes from 2 foreign entities, according to this indictment released by the Justice Department. The Justice Department weaponized, it only goes against GOP. Well, you've got 2 major corruption cases that are going on against Democrats. He's considered a moderate Democrat here in this article. I don't consider him a moderate Democrat. I mean, he's, we can get into Henry Cuellar another time. He's out of Texas, and his views on women's reproductive rights, et cetera, I think would make you characterize him differently than moderate Democrat. And finally, to the PTA. What could possibly go wrong at the PTA? But I'd like you to realize we cover the big universes and the small universes here. The Middletown PTA president in Middletown, Pennsylvania. The PTA for Middleton Elementary and Middleton Primary Schools has been charged with stealing more than $23,000.
What?
No.
Did it by using forged checks. Charging documents say that other members of the PTA's board began to suspect problems with the organization's finances in September of last year. That when Middleton Valley Bank flagged a fraudulent check. That check was written and signed by the accused. Her name is Ryan Hartman. Well, a review of several years' worth of banking statements uncovered 48 of those fraudulent checks, Kim. And the checks were made out to who? Hartman.
No.
They totaled $23,135 in PTA funds. Of those checks, the second signatory was listed on 29 of them, and that signature was forged. That's the former treasurer's signature.
Which, because there's all kinds of PTA rules that you have to follow. You know, you have to, again, have a second signature. The whole treasury document is presented before the group at every meeting so everyone can see what checks are going through. It's a surprise that she was able to pull it off.
Well, she had large reimbursements, Kim, that she was able to phony up. Some of the reimbursements claimed by Hartman included $1,516 for, quote, pizza kits, $1,835 for movie reimbursement, and $1,225 for FFK night deposit reimbursement. 14 of the checks made out to Hartman during the period covered by the PTA bank statements were written by Hartman during the summer months when no school or PTA activities would have been taking place. So you see, it was, once again, she got away with it for a while, but eventually the long arm of the PTA,
I guess,
discovered her.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal.
That's Law and Disorder for today.
Tune in again next time for more Law and Disorder on The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out there.
Smash the like button like a boss.
Smash
for
it with your iron rod.
Kim. Do it for Tony. Do it for yourself. It is free. We appreciate the thumbs up.
Smash it with your iron rod.
The great investigative journalist, best-selling author, and Pulitzer Prize winner, David Cay Johnston, kicks off the second hour. Kim's News next, and what do I have after that? I've got so much stuff. It's crazy. This is a lot of the. I don't know where to begin. It's all good though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all good.
All right. Well, we'll sift through some of this stuff, and I got a great AI story I want to tell you and how it's going to affect our lives in the fast food world. I've got a lot of stuff. So, all right, Kim, your news, and then we continue. David's coming up in the second hour. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Yeah, it's Stormy Daniels continuing to testify about her alleged 2006 sexual encounter with Donald Trump, the adult film star, part of the prosecution's case in the former president's hush money trial in New York. Trump accused of falsifying business records tied to paying Daniels to keep quiet about the encounter just prior to the 2016 election. Columbia University law students are being blacklisted by more than a dozen judges. A group of 13 U.S. federal judges are warning Columbia it will not hire their law school students and graduates due to how the institution handled anti-Israel protests. In a letter obtained by Reuters, the judges who were appointed by former President Trump expressed they lost confidence in the university and called it an incubator of bigotry. Georgia Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene says she'll back down from calling to remove Speaker Mike Johnson if no more aid is given to Ukraine. She also told reporters she wants the special counsel probes into Donald Trump to be defunded. A vote to remove Johnson likely to fail, as Democrats say they'll vote to kill any resolution.
She may be leading the Trumpy parade, but I think he's kind of over her, right? My sense is that Carrie Lake, Marjorie Taylor Greene, now Kristi Noem, he just assumed they'd lose his number. Don't you get that sense, Kim?
I think so, but I don't know. I mean, it depends on how they can use her. I think if the timing is right and they want to get rid of him and they can manipulate her, they totally will welcome her back in.
Okay. I think you're right. I mean, that makes total sense. If there's still gas in the tank, they'll use it.
The California Board of Education is taking control of the San Francisco Unified School District spending after auditors determined the district is in distressed financial condition and could run out of money. The city has lost more than 10,000 students in the last decade, and that means millions of dollars in lost state and federal funding. The state superintendent asked the district to have a corrective action plan in place by June 30th. So a budget team will now present findings to the district's Board of Education tonight. Actually, the school closures are also being considered due to declining enrollment and budget issues. A vote expected in December to determine which schools will be affected. So not going well for San Francisco City Schools. UCLA detectives are using a high-tech tool to identify the people involved in a violent attack on the pro-Palestinian encampment on campus. Last week's attack, allegedly by pro-Israel activists, left several people injured. Investigators are scanning hundreds of photos with facial recognition technology that matches the images with others posted on social media. Police departments use the technology to identify retail thieves. The FBI used it to identify suspects in the January 6th investigation as well. And again, now it is being used at UCLA.
Peaceful protest should not be met with any kind of police aggression. But as I've stated before, if you're involved in fomenting violence of any kind, which is clearly what they're talking about here, fomenting is a ding word, you're right. It is indeed the case that they should use every technology available to find you and arrest you. It is not cool. I love that you go down there. I love activism. I love whatever cause. But if you're involved in violence or in helping to stir up violence, as you know, I feel if you're involved in occupying administration buildings, if you're blocking administration buildings, classes, etc., you should also be arrested. I support every technology available to find you and arrest you. It is absolutely not cool that this stuff is going down and really poses a threat to higher education, both at these universities and colleges and forums elsewhere. I mean, it is just not acceptable.
No, it isn't acceptable. And I don't know. I was sent an email recently by someone who said police in riot gear shouldn't be attacking children at colleges. They're not children anymore, right? I mean, they're making their own decisions here. I don't know.
That is, I mean, that kind of email is just like, give me a break. I mean, really, at least give me the appearance of objectivity. The suggestion that you could characterize them as children, please. Please. Hey, I'll tell you, I'll put it a different way. If that one of those children comes over and tries to hurt you in any way, they'll be tried as an adult. Yeah. Okay, so that's something of a threshold legally that one should keep in mind.
Traveler's insurance. Big surprise for people that have travelers. It looks like more than 300,000 Californians are in for some sticker shock. The state's sixth largest property and casualty insurer raising prices. Travelers was just approved to hike rates on homes by an average of 15% starting next month. Some customers will end up paying almost 27% more. Others may see rates drop 8%. This comes as the company drops 6,600 policies across the state, with most in extreme wildfire risk areas. So there you go. Travelers raising those prices.
Well, we were talking about it yesterday. They're going up everywhere. Travelers may be, just part of the parade, if you can get insurance at all.
Sad. The state, though, is marking a water milestone. Last year was the 8th wettest in 5 decades. The parade of atmospheric rivers helped end the drought, also bumped groundwater levels up with the first storage increase since 2019. The Department of Water Resources says a significant reduction in groundwater pumping led to ground surface elevation rising in some places where it had previously sunk, mostly in the San Joaquin Valley. So it looks like we're doing pretty well. Speaking of that, California's second largest reservoir is now full. Lake Oroville reached capacity yesterday for a second straight year. Crews have been reducing outflows from the lake in recent weeks, allowing it to slowly fill to its current 899-foot elevation. The Department of Water Resources posting the update on social media, calling it great news for ensuring adequate water supply for millions of people. Shasta Lake is the biggest. It is 97% full. So we're doing pretty well. Move over, Los Angeles. You are not the worst place to drive. Nope. Not this time. Yeah. California has some of the worst cities to drive in, and Oakland now tops that list. A study from Forbes Advisor blames deadly crashes, high gas prices, and the longest time spent traveling to and from work. San Francisco came in 3rd, Los Angeles 11th, Long Beach 20th. On the flip side, San Diego, Fresno, and Bakersfield are ranked among the best cities for driving. So there.
No.
Something interesting to watch for today. It's the day we're going to find out whether Disneyland will truly be expanding. Last month, the theme park got the green light to build new attractions, shops, and restaurants plural within current undeveloped areas. This includes alongside hotels where the Toy Story parking area stands. Even though Anaheim approved the nearly $2 billion plan, it's not official until the city council takes a final vote today. So today we'll know, is Disneyland going to grow? A lot of people are waiting to find out. Ooh.
I saw that they posted I don't know if it was the theme parks posted a profit, and it helped boost the stock and bottom line for the whatever quarter we're finishing here. Yeah, so their quarterly profit as a result of excelling in these theme park areas was very strong.
Oh, a sad situation. Miss USA resigning from her title.
What?
Yeah. Noella Voigt announced on Instagram she's making the decision to step back for mental health reasons. She won the title of Miss Utah USA in 2023.
Girl, you just woo.
The pageant winner reflected in her post about her favorite moments of being Miss USA, including working with anti-bullying and dating violence awareness foundations. But now, no.
Wow. Well, so wait a minute. This is one of those situations in which the runner-up for Miss America,
you Miss USA, now Miss Runner-up. I bet Miss Runner-up never thought she'd get the shot, and now here she comes. So
yeah, I mean, they always just think they're never going to have the shot, but these days you never know. Got to be ready.
Yeah,
you got to be Miss USA ready.
I mean, something must have happened. How sad. I mean, I guess I don't know when the term was up anyway, but. Yeah.
No, obviously. She's, clearly, I mean, I was reading about it the other day also, I think yesterday or whatever. Somebody else sent me the story, and I thought, they don't really get specific as to what's bothering her or, causing her to. I think being Miss whatever, in this case USA, but I really mean it, whatever it is, USA, America, in universe, etc. I'm sure a lot of responsibilities and quite a schedule comes with that. So
I bet you get a lot of because you get so much public attention, you get a lot of trolls on social media, and that can take
that's
the
true
toll.
too.
I don't know. So
that's a really good point. I'm sure it's really hard.
Yeah,
even on our show, handling all of these trolls.
You're pretty good at it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So she is resigning from her role, and they are going to announce the new Miss USA soon, is what we know.
Wow, she's really pretty.
Yeah, very pretty. Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry to. I'll miss her.
They're not going to pick an ugly Miss USA. So,
well, they're all very attractive. So, yeah.
We'll keep her up there while we say while I tell you the last story, which is Snoop Dogg. Snoop will now be part of a college football bowl season, the Arizona Bowl in Tucson, becoming the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl.
Well, why are we keeping a picture of Miss USA up there if we're talking about Snoop Dogg?
I mean, it's more interesting to look at than this.
Well, maybe, but at least okay. Go ahead. I'm having trouble reconciling them. But go ahead.
I mean, you seem to like her, so.
Well, it doesn't mean I want to stare at her while you read other stories.
Okay, well, I thought maybe you did. How about this then? Does that work
for
you?
There you go. That's my guy, Snoop.
Snoop Bowl. It's the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl presented by Gin and Juice by Dre and Snoop.
There's never been anything like this.
Right.
Wow.
The game, played on the campus of the University of Arizona, was previously sponsored by Barstool Sports. Yahoo Sports reports this will be the first college bowl game sponsored by an alcohol brand.
Wow.
This year's game...
What was that? I see. Sorry.
This year's game is set to be played at Arizona Stadium on December 28th. So then you can tune in to the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. There you go.
And that gin and juice is a real brand that he has?
Yeah.
I guess it is, huh?
Yeah, by
Dr.
Dr.
They put
Dre
the gin
and
and
Snoop.
juice together.
There it is.
There is nothing in our history that quite compares
That's
to
probably
this.
right. Parental
It comes in a
advisory
can with a car on it.
Yeah,
what is
with
that?
a
They call it
lowrider
a hoopty? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So you could get your gin and juice. I have not tried this product.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to now.
I'm excited about it. All right.
All right. This report is sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com.
Oh, I'm having it right now.
Me too. I just spilled my hibiscus tea a couple minutes ago, but man,
This
is
is
it
a
good.
stovetop espresso, which is a terrifically strong, delicious Coachella Valley coffee offering that I prepared especially this morning. I'm up before 6 a.m. and I start my first couple of pots of stovetop espresso.
Wow.
It is the best coffee I've ever tasted. And I say this as someone who used to buy the coffee. Like before they ever were on the show, I was just a guy who used to buy the coffee. And then I ran into them and they said, oh, maybe we'd like to get mentions on your show and we could work at something to support your show. Because like, holy cow, I drink your coffee all the time. That'd be the greatest. And that's how they end up on the show. And I'm so excited that they're here. And for you to try their coffee would be, I think, a great, when I say you, I'm talking about all of you who haven't yet. Check it out. Coffee, tea, and as I say, you luxuriate in that which is CoachellaValleyCoffee.com.
It is CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. And don't forget, you get a 10% discount just for being a Mark Thompson Show listener. All you have to do as you check out with your cart on the website is enter Mark T, no spaces, at checkout, and you see the discount fly off of your total there. Mark T at checkout for 10% off. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is the Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
We are here Monday through Friday, and our shows are archived, of course, in the YouTube universe. Our videos drop. Please share them. Please give us a thumbs up. That helps us in the algorithms of YouTube. It helps inform the algorithmic gods that we are liked by, at least something we've done is liked by you.
Smash it with your iron rod.
The 6-year-old house cat from Utah that was mentioned in the chat. Thank you for mentioning it and reminding me I wanted to do it, this story. You know, I love animals. I love all animals. Animals are sentient creatures. They feel your affections. They feel jealousy. They feel pain. They feel fear. And so our attachment to these creatures is reciprocal, right? It's both ways. And Galena, a 6-year-old house cat from Utah, again, had a home with a loving family, and she loved them back. Galena likes hiding in and playing with cardboard. And so when the Amazon package arrived, she found her way into it. And sadly, the Amazon package ended up being sent, right?
Yep.
It was quite the trip that this Amazon package with the cat inside ended up on. They had Galena as a kitten. She was rescued from a pregnant feral cat. She's an American short-hair cat with calico and Siamese coloring. She was a constant companion, they say, and source of emotional support. There she is. I've been through a bunch of health things, and she and I have gone through all that together, and she's just this extra great part about her personality. She just has that very loving aspect to who she is. And she can tell when you don't feel well, said her family. And she's just really, really special to me. Well, this is the one member of the family, Carrie Clark, who is the companion to this sweet Galena. Galena disappeared on April 10th. And Carrie didn't know what was going on. They searched the neighborhood. They put up flyers, posters on Facebook, virtual posters across social media, lost pet pages in Utah where they lived. Not knowing what had happened was pretty excruciating. I cried my eyes out for 7 days trying to figure out what had happened. Ran through all the worst-case scenarios, wondering if the cat could have gotten out of the house, been nabbed by a predator, or run over by a vehicle. And then she got a text. The text, she says, that changed my life. April 17th, it said that Galena's microchip had been scanned. So Carrie knew that she'd been found somewhere. She got a call saying that her cat was near Riverside, California. Again, they live in Utah.
No.
Galena was found in a box along with steel-toed boots that had been returned to the Amazon warehouse. Carrie's husband had ordered several pairs of boots, kept one pair, and returned the rest in a large box. Didn't realize that Galena was inside. Amazon employees knew who to call when they found the cat. The co-worker who they work with, a girl named Brandy Hunter, rescues cats. And Hunter took the cat home, took the cat to the vet the next day where the microchip was scanned. And when Carrie spoke with Hunter, Brandy Hunter again, then she felt better.
Doesn't it seem like you would be able to feel something shifting in the box? Because the cat isn't stationary, it's moving around. So how did you not feel that something was not right with that box as you carried it to send it away?
2 points. First of all, I think, honestly, if you have boots in there and it's shifting around, there's no way to know it's an animal,
Yeah, I guess.
The other thing is the cat apparently, Galena doesn't talk a lot, doesn't cry a lot. Mm-hmm. So maybe out of either fear or just out of general disposition, Galena the cat didn't say anything or didn't make a sound. The weather is a lucky thing because it was not particularly harsh during this time that Galena was missing. And the box was torn at the seam, which allowed a little air to get in there. I mean, there's a lot that went right with this to get Galena back. Mm-hmm. The advice is to double check your Amazon boxes to make sure that no creature is included.
Can you imagine being the person that opened that box at the other end?
Well, I mean, they opened it up and then they called the right person within their world, you know, to make certain that it was getting back to where Galena, the cat, needed to get. So, happy ending. Thank you for mentioning it in the chat.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I wanted to get to it. Other things in the chat I'll just respond to quickly. This is from teacher Lori G. I was talking about peaceful protest on the college campuses versus violent or protests that block administration buildings and classes. Mark, do you consider blocking traffic peaceful? If you block people from going about their normal day, is this peaceful? Just asking, because I'm not sure myself. If you're blocking people from getting access into these administration buildings, into work, into whatever, no, I do not consider. I mean, it's peaceful from the standpoint of, you know, a pure interpretation and definition of what peaceful is, but it is not acceptable within society for that to happen. So I include blocking the Golden Gate Bridge, blocking the Bay Bridge, all of those I include. So I'm sorry, I'm on the side of arrest. But the last thing I'll say, and then I'll bring on David Cay Johnston, is if you're an activist, being arrested is a badge of honor on some level. I mean, talk to civil rights activists in the 60s. They will tell you that is part of the plan. So there's no shame in arrest. And I think we have to, in the new world now, understand exactly what activism and what protest is about, what is acceptable and what is not. So that's that. I'll get to more chat and more questions later.
The Mark Thompson Show.
He is a Pulitzer Prize winner for investigative work and remarkable author, best-selling author as well. At that, you've seen him all over broadcast media because these days he is, honestly, he's the grand poobah of all things Trump, and Trump is center stage yet again. He's so generous to be with us on Tuesdays. He's the great David Cay Johnston, everybody.
Hello, Mark.
Hello, sir.
Jim?
Well, there's so much going on, and I don't know where you want to start. Today's, salacious details, some of them with Stormy Daniels. I was saying before in the first hour, David, that I get it. It's salacious. It's this, it's that. But the idea of an affair and paying somebody off to stay quiet is not really, it's not illegal, and it's not really what this case is about, at least at the greatest stakes that represent this case.
Yeah, I just literally moments ago was on MSNBC talking about this. The prosecutors made a decision that they wanted to get all sorts of things out on the record to shape as best they could the cross-examination by Donald Trump's lawyers. They could have chosen to put on a very lean presentation that just stuck to the facts we needed to know, and then, if necessary, rehabilitated Stormy Daniels on redirect. They're the ones who have to make the choices about how they're going to handle these things. I don't think this is reversible error, but an appeals court down the road, if there's a conviction, might see this differently. The most important thing I think to recognize here is Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal are not national heroes. Both of them took money to cover up something that would have been highly relevant at the time. You'll remember that when the Billy Bush tape came out with the incredibly crude and, for a family values party, or at least alleged family values party, total contradiction of their position. A number of Republicans backed off. Jason Chaffetz immediately comes to mind, the congressman from the Rockies. And Donald was able to prevent this from coming out. Had these two women stepped forward, he probably would not be in the White House, have been in the White House. And so they're not heroes for all of this. They took money to be silent. She also, in the morning, it's pretty clear from the transcripts that have been read and cited by journalists who are in the room or in the overflow room, was not a witness under very much control. When they came back at 2:00, her answers shifted to very simple, straight, yes, no, things like that. So clearly the prosecutors had a talk with their witness about all of this. But remember, this case is about falsifying business records to cover up And the cover-up was intended to corrupt the election in 2016 in the state of New York. And it doesn't matter that Trump had no chance of winning his home state, or for that matter, his home borough or his home voting precinct. That's irrelevant. If you seek corruptly to promote or hold back things, then that's a crime under New York state law. And that's what the case is about.
So in a way then, on that, the more damning information might have come yesterday when you're talking to the controller, or when you're actually seeing the records then. Yes. You at least see the trail, right?
Yeah. I mean, one of the prosecutors have to paint a picture, okay? One of the criticisms a lot of people have had of the serious newspapers in recent years is that a lot, and I'm one of the leading critics of this, is that a lot of stories read like bureaucratic memos. They don't have blood and life in them about human beings. And the prosecutors clearly felt that they needed to bring out a lot of material to make this a human interaction, but they also clearly did not make clear to Stormy Daniels that she could derail this whole thing if she goes too far.
And so that's what you saw evidence of. You saw, as you say, a witness who was out of control, as you put it.
Yeah. I mean, having had to testify in various proceedings in my lifetime, you get a long talk from lawyers about do and don't do this and that, and they test you out on what you're going to answer. And I'm somebody who has not been a controllable witness. Both, the grand jury in Los Angeles, where I was forced to testify. Because the LA Times wouldn't stand up for its newsroom shamefully. And in a disbarment proceeding that was based on, it turned out to be utter nonsense. And once the questioning of me I realized I was here for no good reason, that was literally made up evidence. I turned to the panel and said, this is absurd and you should be ashamed to be engaged in this procedure. So, I mean, I understand her desire to, I'm going to tell my story, but that can pose a threat to prosecuting this case. As I said, I don't think there's enough here to overturn the case, but you can be sure that Donald Trump will appeal on this grounds. The prosecution might get a benefit out of this because there will be an instruction by the judge when the jury is charged to go into the jury room. And that instruction will probably be very explicit that you're not to pay attention to any of these salacious details which are not relevant. And Mr. Trump disputes them. It doesn't matter if they are true or not. You're to consider them only in the context of what motivated behavior.
And then, David, to the question at hand again, which is that these payoffs and this money for silence was really to cover the political damage that might be done.
Right.
Is the timing of money and communications then relevant? In other words,
very. Very. Stormy Daniels on October 28th, which was a week before the election in 2016, had her lawyer, Davison from Los Angeles, who specialized in representing people who had salacious stories to sell or catch and kill, said this is off, because she understood that if she didn't get paid before the election, she would never be paid. And there's been testimony that Trump wanted to delay payment till after the election because if he lost, it didn't matter. And if he won, he could make it go away. And the problem that presents for Donald Trump is part of his defense is this wasn't done for political reasons. This was to save Melania embarrassment. It was to save my marriage to Melania. That just, it's a colorable argument, but I don't think it's going to resonate with most people. But once we know that Trump said, no, we'll just not pay her till afterwards and maybe I can get out of it, because Donald's such a cheapskate. It doesn't help him. I've been watching very carefully to see if Donald seems to have any defense we haven't seen. And so far, no. We'll see the cross-examination of Stormy Daniels and how well they do there and whether they can land any punches. But remember, the prosecutors can redirect and try to repair any punches that, legal punches, not physical ones, that Todd lands on Stormy Daniels.
Let me ask you about literal punches that I think the judge worries the jury may suffer as a result of threats, general though they may be, made on by Donald Trump. Even sort of general sense, the jury is 95% Democrats. He demonizes the jury now in this latest contempt charge and I guess ruling. The judge is sort of, I think, pointing to that particularly, David. So where are we on the contempt stuff? How close to the line, meaning the jail line, do you think we are now getting on this contempt stuff?
Well, the judge could have jailed Donald at the very beginning of this. He's made it very clear in his comments yesterday that he does not want to do that. He's not naive about the fact that Trump is the former and may well be the next president of the United States. Where this is going to come home to roost for Donald, and this is very important to remember. Last night I was shocked the CBS Evening News, which is generally very good, was missing a key word. There have been 10 findings of criminal contempt. This isn't civil, this is criminal contempt. So Donald Trump has been convicted of 10 crimes involving these threatening statements on witnesses, family members of the judge, and other people. It's when if Donald is convicted, it's when the sentencing happens that this is going to come home to roost. As soon as the jury is charged and goes into the jury room, any reason the judge might have to hold off jailing Trump would decline. It wouldn't go away, but it would decline. But the judge in his sentencing absolutely can take into account the recalcitrant behavior of Donald Trump. And you know, this is an ancient idea. This is not something new. People who are accused of a crime, I mean, I've literally seen someone stand up in front of a judge and say, I'm going to keep doing this. Well, you get a much harsher sentence for that. There's a couple I wrote about in the New York Times who were convicted of tax crimes, and they proceeded to tell the judge he didn't have any authority over them and go into a tirade, and they got 8 extra years on a tax charge. Yeah. Wow. So this will come home to roost at sentencing, assuming Donald is convicted. And at this point, I think the prosecution has proved the elements of the case, and that the maybe 10 more days of testimony they're going to put on is simply their effort to make sure that they have battened down every hatch as tightly as possible.
David, if he's acquitted, can these various contempt violations still be imposed on him?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. If he's acquitted, the judge can still throw him in the clink. He can't fine him more than $1,000 because there's a limit by the New York statute. But Donald could get 300 days behind bars, 10 days for each one of these offenses. I suspect an appeals court would find that excessive, but a 30-day sentence? Yeah, I don't think any appellate judge would find that. I mean, let's remember in California where you are, and I lived half my life, a hungry man who was a petty thief, stole a slice of pizza from some children down in El Segundo or Redondo Beach, one of the beach towns, because he was hungry, and he was sentenced to life in prison for stealing pizza from teenagers. Oh my God,
that is a Les Miserables kind of truly Victor Hugo.
He did get out, by the way, after some number of years after that.
That's fascinating, though, that even in the situation where there'd be an acquittal, that the penalty can still be applied.
Well, sure, because the penalty is for violating the order of the court. And, you know, Donald keeps saying, and I keep hearing news accounts that report that, you know, he's not being allowed to campaign. He's completely free to campaign. When you are out on bail, the judge could have remanded him to jail pending the trial. When you are out on bail or even on your own recognizance, you are out subject to the orders of the court. And all the court has said is you can't say things that intimidate witnesses, intimidate jurors, that go after members of the prosecution, law enforcement, their families, my family. He's free to attack the judge. The judge's order allows him to walk out of the courthouse and say, as he said repeatedly, this is a totally corrupt judge, da-da-da-da-da. But you are not a free person when you are out on bail.
I have a another Donald J. Trump question, but it's not related to the trial.
Yeah.
It comes in from a viewer listener. I have a question for David Cay Johnston regarding the recent DJT stock price, quote, fluctuation.
Yeah.
I wonder whether the DJT stock price is not being manipulated by a pump and dump scheme. Again, not being manipulated by a pump and dump scheme, but rather by an illegal stock price manipulation method known as wash trading. Okay, this is really quite an informed. Yeah. It's a specific form in which a group of stock owners, in other words, Donald J. Trump and others in league with him, artificially inflate the stock price by trading the shares among themselves repeatedly, thereby making it seem like there's a lot of activity in this stock. What about David's comments?
So
Scott in Eugene, Oregon. Thank you, Scott. Go ahead.
No, Scott, thank you very much for that. Most of us think of the stock market as you buy shares at whatever the current price is, and you sell them at whatever the price is when you want to sell. That's absolutely accurate, but it misses all of the ways that Wall Street has figured out how to manipulate stock markets. And first of all, we know that there are a lot of people who sold short. That is, they borrowed shares, which are almost impossible to get now to borrow, sold them, and they're going to make their money when you close out and the stock price has fallen to near zero. So if you bought at the peak of $78 and change, when the price gets down to $2, as I expect it will someday, or $1, and you sell, you make $78 minus the $2 less your transaction costs. You can make money going up or going down. If you have a group of people, Trump could not legally be involved in this, and nobody else, I think, would be involved with him. But if you have a group of people who have an interest in keeping the stock price high, they will trade back and forth to each other. Now, there's a 14-day wash rule. At least the last time I looked, it was 14 days. If you make a trade between now and then, the pricing is disregarded by the government. But it's absolutely a manipulation. All trades are recorded. Every single trade that's made, and the SEC can get the trading tape on that. And when this is all over, do I think that there will be civil and possibly criminal charges brought? Yeah, I think there's a very high likelihood of that, because Donald Trump's company last year had revenue, it's claimed. And I say claimed because the auditors in the related company have now been found to have just made up numbers for a whole bunch of companies. They just flat out made stuff up. Gee, sort of like Donald. So they say the company took in $4.1 million and that it lost $58 million. Well, that's not a viable company. Why would it have billions of dollars in valuation? And if you think, well, after Donald gets back to the White House, it's a speculative bet. If he gets back, it'll be worth a lot of money. Why would it be worth a lot of money after he gets back to the White House? It would be worth a lot of money because of advertising or paying fees. And that's a business that for everybody is just gone to hell in a handbasket. You know, Vanity Fair arrived today at my house. It's usually several hundred pages. It's pretty thin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's happening to all the legacy media. But let me ask you, or at least push back on that and ask, or probe on that and ask, David, doesn't Uber and a lot of these startups that have taken over the world, didn't they operate at a loss for a long time?
Sure, but they also had revenue streams, and you could see the revenue stream. And no, it's not unusual for a startup company to lose money. No question about that. But $4.1 million of revenue for a business that's been around for a while, Truth Social didn't start January 1st, it's bupkis. I mean, the little two-bed hotel company my son and I had, management company. We didn't own the hotel. We managed it. It was half that revenue, and I'm no billionaire.
I remember actually, I was going to run this for you, but Barry Diller was on CNBC. Yeah. He's, of course, the media mogul, and he's made a fortune several times over.
Brilliant businessman.
Yeah, brilliant businessman, exactly. And Barry was asked about Truth Social and DJT, and he laughed and he said, "Please, it's not a company. He said, I don't know what it is. He said it's a Ponzi scheme or something. He said, I won't even comment on it. It's utterly absurd." So he shares, I guess, what any informed investor has as a perspective on this. The last thing,
just to make clear, so your viewer in Eugene is right on that there's a very high likelihood that there is some manipulation going on here among people who have an interest in keeping the company stock going for a while and who likely are also short, so that when the company eventually collapses, they will cash out and make money. Donald cannot himself short the stock because he's the majority owner and an executive. And executives, officers of the company are not allowed to short their own stock. But that doesn't mean he hasn't hypothecated that stock, that is, pledged that stock to some loan that would be wiped out because of short sales by the lenders.
There's several emails. I won't go through all of them, but they kind of follow up on that. One suggests that Trump will cash out maybe at a much lower valuation on September 23rd, I think the viewer notes, when his cooling off period ends. Will there still be money in that piggy bank at that point, David? How does that work?
If you assume that the price is propped up and there's not that much trading volume, so it wouldn't be hard for a conspiracy of traders to do this. The minute Donald sells, he will be required to disclose that under the SEC rules. And that's when a founder sells lots of shares, stock prices collapse because everybody understands that means get out now. So I'd be very surprised if Donald sells any shares before November 5th. But November 6th, actually November 5th, because no one would know probably till the next day.
I mean, you've got to think that most people are going to clear out in September or October. Yeah.
And we don't know how many holders there are. They will have to disclose that at some point, but we don't know. It could be Donald owns 58% roughly of the stock. So we don't know how many other holders there are, but it's not tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people in all likelihood.
And this is more than just minutia about Trump and stock. As you know, Trump has legit liabilities from a financial standpoint, and it's thought that this media empire that he's part of is going to bail him out in part. But you have mentioned that there, I believe you said, was it the SEC or the FTC would likely have questions around this company, and you sort of alluded to it here.
The SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, they're the Wall Street cops. Yeah, the Federal Trade Commissioner, the monopoly cops, the IRS, are the tax cops.
And as you say, they shut down the auditor, right? Because it was a sham.
Yes, I think 1,500 companies who they corruptly put forth their audit statements. I mean, we're not talking about some little two-bit operation, even if they were two-bit companies. 1,500 companies.
So it's fascinating. And it's also fascinating how many listeners and viewers had questions about it. So thank you for addressing it. So you actually handicapped this entire thing with the trial of Donald Trump in a way that is different than others who have passed through. Like, in other words, you think that there really may be a case here, even though it's an appealable case, you think that Trump could actually be found guilty on these counts?
On which counts are we talking about?
On the count on the Federal Election Commission violation accounts. Yes or no?
I'm sorry.
Oh, on the felony. On
the felony. Trial in New York right now.
On the trial in New York. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that it's highly likely Donald will be convicted. Remember that this jury includes two lawyers. We don't know what area of law they practice, but they understand the law, or should. And this is not the poorly educated who Donald can, pull the wool over their eyes. All of the jurors have solid educations based on voir dire, the process of questioning jurors before they're chosen. And that does not help Donald Trump, who would benefit from having a jury of, people who dropped out in 8th grade, or as he likes to say, I love the poorly educated. Yeah, because they don't understand what he's doing to them, that he's not their friend.
Sure, they live on the messaging. They don't live on the actual.
Right.
Yeah. Now,
no, I'll be surprised if he's not. I mean, he has no hope of being acquitted. His hope is that somebody will give him a hung jury. And of course, he will spin that as, you see, there was no case at all. It was all political. It was all political. Joe Biden did this. Never mind that the district attorney in Manhattan is elected. that it's a state system, has nothing to do with the federal system at all. And the poorly educated will eat that up.
The last thing I'll hit you with, and then I'll let you go because I know your dance card is full right now. And thank you again for your time, David Cay Johnston. This from a couple of listeners and viewers as well. Talk of the Social Security Trust Fund. This is, again, this is far afield from the world of Donald Trump, although... Yeah.
I just did the cover story for the April issue of Kiplinger Retirement Report, and it's on Social Security. And I believe that it's currently available free online. So if you put in my name, Kip, in quotes, David C-A-Y, Johnston with a T, end quote, Kiplinger Retirement, it may come up. And
Tony, we can find it and put a hot link in for both.
That would be great if it is available.
We'll take care of that. Yeah.
And here's the reality about Social Security. Because so many more people have jobs, we've had more jobs created in Joe Biden's first term, only 3 and a little bit into the 4 years, than every Republican president since World War II. I mean, that's an astonishing accomplishment. Thank you. Now it's up on your screen.
Yeah, we'll have a hot link. Go ahead.
So many more people are working and therefore paying taxes into the Social Security system, as I continue to do, even though I'm collecting Social Security, that the period in which the trust fund will be depleted has been extended by a year from 2034 to 2035. I point out in this piece that if we had stuck to the Reagan administration plan to tax 90% of wages, the system would be in surplus right now. And if we adopted the Medicare practice that you're taxed on 100% of your earned income, your salary, bonus, stock options, all your earned income, we could increase Social Security benefits by about a fifth if it was evenly spread. And if it was just weighted to the lower end, many people are getting by on $1,000. All they have is Social Security, and they get maybe $1,000 a month. They could be getting maybe $1,500 a month. But we instead have allowed the share of compensation for services, that's what the government calls your salary and bonus and whatnot. We've allowed that to come down to about 82% instead of 90%. So the only reason that Social Security's trust fund is coming down is because we're not fully taxing people as Ronald Reagan promised that we would do, and Alan Greenspan, the head of his commission, recommended that we do. And I'd also, let me just point out that the building up of the Social Security Trust Fund robbed people of the opportunity to save for the future. In the peak year of over collection, and that's what they've been doing, over collecting Social Security, the decline in personal savings almost exactly equals the excess tax that was collected. This should always have been a pay-as-you-go system. There's no reason it can't continue to be a pay-as-you-go system, but you have to set the maximum level at which you impose the tax at a higher rate. Now, Joe Biden has complicated this because he won't sign anything that would raise taxes on people making less than $400,000. The maximum Social Security wage subject to tax this year is around $170,000. So you'd have to create a donut hole. So you don't pay from $170 to $400 and then you pick it up again. But we have hundreds of people now who make more than $1 million a week, hundreds of them. And if they were paying full Social Security tax, if the we have 55,000 households that make over 10 million a year. Their average, this is that they have to report. They actually make much more, but what they have to report in their tax returns, and their average is north of $30 million a year. And if we taxed all compensation for services, Social Security would be so flush with money, we wouldn't have all these poor people who become a burden on county taxpayers. And there is no escaping the costs of old age unless you want to euthanize old people. You want to take the Kristi Noem approach. You live too long, so let's take you to the gravel
drag
pit.
You out to the gravel pit.
Yeah. So we simply, the zeal to lower taxes on people at the top in order to win their political favor. This all traces back to Watergate, to the mistakes made after Watergate in changing campaign finance, which make senators and Congress people dependent not on you and me as voters, but on their campaign donors. That's their real constituency. And it's a real underlying systematic problem that has gone on.
So if nothing changes, David Cay Johnston, because Biden himself points to, I think there should be taxes on billionaires. That would do it. In other words, there's always, there are these ways to increase revenue. But if nothing changes,
we used to tax people who were very wealthy, and we effectively limited their incomes and corporate profits with high taxes. And here's the benefit to that. It's not that the government gets the money, because it doesn't. If you own, a manufacturing business and you got 1,000 employees, and I come in as your finance guy the day after Christmas and say, we're going to earn an extra $1 million this year and have to pay taxes on it, you're going to say, oh, well, I'll tell you what, we'll pay a dividend to all of us who are owners, or hey, sign contracts right now to fix assembly line 3. That'll soak up half the money. And we're in accrual accounting, so we didn't have to pay it right now. We just have to be obligated for it. And you reinvest in the business. And when you reinvest in the business, you are on a macro scale for every business creating jobs, maybe not your particular business, but overall. And when you start withdrawing money so that you can have a 500-foot yacht that requires a 300-foot yacht to service it, now you're destroying jobs. And we need to get back to understanding that the economics of taxes can make us all wealthier if the system is designed to promote private wealth creation and reinvestment in businesses.
Just seems as though it is such a fading strategy, for the reasons that you've articulated, David Cay Johnston, because of the donor ownership of legislators. But we're out of time. I so appreciate you stopping through. We will link to that article on Social Security that David has authored. There'll be a link underneath this show and also underneath this video, which we will break out separately so you can find it there and read more about Social Security.
If you're my age, there's surprisingly good stuff in there about money, how to run your life, how to enjoy your later years in that newsletter, which is edited by my best friend. That's why it's become so good.
Terrific.
He's really, really good.
I love it. I look forward to getting into it. David, we so enjoy our time with you. David Cay Johnston, everybody. Right on, my friend. Right on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
How good is David Cay Johnston? Wow. Just terrific. Anything I need to attend to in the chat? I was trying to integrate some of your questions. I would say this, of course, David Cay Johnston's a national treasure. Agreed.
That's true.
I would encourage you in future to always do what those a handful of viewers and listeners do. Send me an email with questions for David Cay Johnston, and I'll make sure that I integrate them. All right? So, of course, our email, as mentioned, is themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. You have to put the markthompsonshow@gmail.com, and I will integrate, as I say, your questions in his conversations with us in the future. So, Kim,
yes,
let's do a little news, and then I have a couple of other pieces of business to attend to and a potential Law and Disorder Part 2. That's right, a second.
What?
I know. It's quite
What are the
extraordinary.
chances? I feel lucky. Yeah.
So, Peter Newton, maybe with the comment of the day. If not for David Cay Johnston, I would not have found nor stayed a fan of the show. Well, Peter, thank you for being here.
Excellent.
Yes, we love our David Cay Johnston. He is a high point of the week for sure. All right, Kim's news. Smash the like button like a boss if you would. It costs you nothing and it helps us in
with your iron rod.
in the confusing algorithms of YouTube. So thanks for being here. We continue. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards. Let's go right to her. Yeah, it's a stormy day. At least it is for Donald Trump. Stormy Daniels is on the stand in the former president's criminal hush money trial. Daniels talked about her alleged 2006 sexual encounter with Trump. The adult film star is a big part of the prosecution's case in the former president's hush money trial in New York. Israel says it's the ceasefire proposal agreed to by the Palestinian militant group Hamas is far, far from its necessary requirements. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office sending a delegation to continue work on a ceasefire proposal brokered by Egypt and Qatar. In the meantime, Israel has said it will continue with operations in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. TikTok is suing the U.S. government. Yes, they are. Well, and why? Why are they suing? They don't want to be dumped out of existence, basically. They're suing over efforts to have the app banned in the country. The lawsuit filed Tuesday in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit by the social media app and its parent company ByteDance. It argues the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act actually violates the First Amendment. The Boy Scouts of America changing its name to Scouting America now. The organization says it's officially making the change in February of 2025 as a sign of its commitment to inclusion. Scouting America. More than 1 million youth currently enrolled in the Boy Scouts programs across the nation. So I think it was last year, a couple of years ago, they said they'd allow girls to join.
No.
And girls said, I can join Boy Scouts, but it's Boy Scouts, right?
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah.
Jada had nothing to do with it.
Oh. So I guess now it's Scouting America. Well, all right.
Wow. Well, it's...
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
But that doesn't mean you're going to have boys and girls like on camping trips together, does it, Kim?
Sure. Absolutely it does. Yeah.
No.
I mean,
Okay.
you have chaperones there,
All
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a, there's no hanky-panky on the trips, Mark. It's okay.
Well, I hope not. I mean, I don't know.
Mm-mm.
I always worry about, putting these kids together that way. And I think that boys can be crude and rude. And girls can be crude and rude too. I think I still have like an old school view of girls. And anyway, I'm hoping that everything works out in the new scouting universe. You know?
You and me both.
Yeah, exactly. So
you mentioned
Everything is going extremely well.
Okay.
You mentioned bird flu. This is an up close vision of what goes on behind the microscope of bird flu. And the CDC is now asking state public health officials to make personal protective equipment, remember PPE, available to livestock workers to fight the spread of bird flu. The risk, they say to the general public, is still really low. But workers in close proximity to livestock at dairy farms, poultry farms, and slaughterhouses remain at higher risk of infection. So they want those workers to use PPE now.
Wow, it's just it's such a disturbance in what otherwise is such a great gig, working in the dairy farms and slaughterhouses. I mean, it's such a cake job, aside from the fact that now you've got to wear personal protective equipment because of the bird flu. Gosh.
Yeah.
Well, the party had to end at some point there in the slaughterhouses, didn't it?
The party is not ending for Elon Musk. He is suing the folks at OpenAI, Sam Altman and Gregory Brockman. He says they breached a founding agreement that required OpenAI to function for nonprofit purposes and for the good of humanity. He says they're not holding up that deal, and so he is suing. Well, 2 weeks ago, the judge in the case determined this case is as complex civil litigation, and a judge was assigned a single judge for all purposes. Well, this week, that judge assigned to the case entered a 2-paragraph order disqualifying himself for continuing to preside. He is recusing himself.
Wow.
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
What happened?
Musk's lawyers filed a motion Friday requesting disqualification because the judge was allegedly prejudiced against the plaintiff, his attorneys, and or the interests of the plaintiff or his attorneys, such that the plaintiff wasn't going to get a fair or impartial trial or hearing.
Jada had nothing to do with it.
Okay.
The judge didn't say why. He just said, you know what? Fine, I'm out. And he said, I'm gone. So
Your Honor, I'd like to ask for a recess.
Well, you won't find Your Honor on the bench anymore, apparently.
No.
He's gone.
No, he's out. That's it.
Wow, that's intriguing.
Yeah, it is, right? They're having trouble at Panera Bread, and we've reported on this. Couple cases with that charged lemonade, and it has this monstrous amount of caffeine in it. Well, now finally, after I think at least a couple health issues, if not a death, Panera Bread will soon stop selling its charged lemonade after that drink was blamed for at least 2 deaths. One lawsuit claims the highly caffeinated beverage led to the death of a University of Pennsylvania student with a heart condition. Another lawsuit claims a Florida man with a previous health issue died after drinking charged lemonade. You'd think they would pull it right off the menu. Now they say they will soon stop selling it. Oh, thanks for that.
Yeah, we still have stuff on the shelves that we got to get rid of.
I guess so. We'll pull it off of the shelves.
Drink
in our
at your own risk.
Good time, right?
Yeah.
Come on now. Well, let's go to the box office. Because it turns out that the kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is expected to go bananas at the box office this weekend, right? The fourth film in the franchise is projected to make between $50 and $55 million in its first weekend in theaters domestically.
Wow.
Jada had nothing to do with it.
Oh, she's not in that one? Okay.
No.
Well,
it could add between $80 to $90 million from the international market as well in its debut. The film takes place many years after the reign of Caesar and follows a young ape named Noah that goes on a journey with a human to try to figure out how apes and mankind can coexist.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
I love it. Mankind isn't really good at coexisting with anything, though.
No.
Let's see how this works out.
No matter what, like we're not going to.
And we're not big coexisters. We're we're big existers. We take the co out of coexisting and we just go with the existing.
Oh, well, that happens sometimes.
But maybe not in this case. I'm anxious to find out.
Oh, I have a story that I want to do, but I don't know if you have it in Law and Order. It's about an international jewel thief.
Well, first of all, it's Law and Disorder. And secondly, go ahead, and I can always eliminate it. How many years do we have to do this show
a long
before
time,
Kim
many years,
recognizes what the show is actually doing?
They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
All I'm saying is she just was able to get Friday Fabulous Florida, and now she's lost Law and Disorder.
Why are you yelling?
Slow. I mean, one at a time. I think you expect
I
too much.
you. Okay, all right.
do.
Maybe it's my fault. All
I
right.
think you're a little too demanding, actually.
That could be it.
You just don't get it, do you?
I don't.
You don't.
I don't get it. I don't. It must be my
I
fault.
think you must chill, is the story.
All right.
I blame you.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
This story out of Tiffany's. An international jewel thief is under arrest for stealing a diamond ring on Tiffany's on Fifth Avenue. Police say March 4th, Yarong Wan swapped out a diamond ring worth $225,000 and replaced it with a faker while a clerk was distracted.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
Wow.
It's the old switcheroo. Police
That is
say
a great idea. I mean, if you're into, law, it's an illegal thing. Don't get me wrong. But as illegal goes, it's a pretty good caper. Simple
Police
switch.
Say he did the same thing at the Cartier store in Hudson Yards a week later. Meantime, Juan was arrested last Friday inside an apartment in Gramercy Park and taken to Nassau County, where there was a warrant for his arrest. He was charged with grand larceny and ordered held on $500,000 cash bail or $1 million bond. In the Tiffany's case, he swaps it with a cubic zirconia. They put it back in the case, and they don't realize until days later, when someone goes and looks at all the rings, that there's a faker in there. So
that is brilliant.
Jada had nothing to do with it.
Okay, I am amazed that they got away with that.
Busted.
Wow.
He didn't get away. Now he's arrested. He got away from the store, though.
Yeah, it's interesting that, and I'm unclear as to how they caught him. He didn't buy anything.
No, he asked to see a couple of rings.
So how would they know how to catch him, like to where he was, to go get him?
Maybe they went back and looked at the tapes. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, they had to still identify where he was or where, you get it.
Facial recognition.
I need some, would you call this a developing story? I think
Would
so.
you like more information? We'll make sure to bring it to you here on the Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah.
Yeah. On Law and Disorder, maybe
I'd
we
like
can
the
get
full,
into it.
what am I saying, complement of your skills, please.
Okay. It'll work out for us. This report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards. Yes, they have a Mother's Day event that's going to be amazing. At Tenuta Vineyards, they have a catered wonderful lunch event with wine tasting, all kinds of things. Reserve your table now. Call or text Rich to reserve your table. You can even order a special wine label, a custom label with a picture of you and your mom for the wine. You can pick any of their wines to put the picture on, and they have 29 wine choices now. They're up to 17 reds and 12 whites. That includes the Mark Thompson, Why Are You Yelling? Red blend and the
Why are you
Hay.
yelling?
Which one of you is Mark Thompson Pinot Grigio? Right? Yes. TenutaWinery.com is the website, but if you want to call and reserve your table for Mother's Day, it's 925-699-4576, or you can email Rich at Tenuta, Tenuta, Rich at TenutaVineyard.com.
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
Right.
I'm
But
Kim McAllister.
You want to, the key is that you want to use the smash it, right? Isn't that?
Smash it with your iron rod. Yes, that's the phrase that pays. You get 10% off.
Smash it with your iron rod.
I mean, 10% is not nothing. I mean, especially on wine. You get a case of wine, and 10% is a lot of money.
By the way, if you order a case, you get 20% off.
Oh my gosh! I didn't even realize that.
Super generous.
It was great. I loved it.
Okay.
Smash it with your iron rod. Absolutely.
You gotta love it.
Jada had nothing to do with it.
All right. Well,
this is the Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Smash it with your iron rod.
I come from regular stock. Jada had nothing to do with it. There's a reason that this place is fun. Don't ever use that word.
What are the porn stars doing, Mark?
They pay me a lot of money for having attitude.
What you say is the political dogma that they're trying to shove down our throats.
Straight up right in, no problem.
What the hell is going on in the United States of America?
Cuatro años más.
I don't wear a mask for the same reason I don't wear underwear. Things gotta breathe.
Say what?
Do you have a secret talent?
You get nothing.
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
Did you really just do that?
What up, everybody? It is a great pleasure to have you here. We're here every day, Monday through Friday, 2 hours live, and then the show is here, as you know, as long as they leave it up in the YouTube universe. We break out videos, and one of the things we're considering is actually doing some additional videos that will be associated with stuff we've done, longer form conversations that actually don't exist in the main show. So that's one of the things that's being considered. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, it's some of the stuff that we want to talk to you, the audience, about, because I really like our community of supporters. And one of the ways in which I want to interact with you is to get your opinion on a number of things. So watch for those communications in the days ahead. But anyway, thank you for being here. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up. That really helps us. And thank you for recommending the show and for sharing the show and for sharing videos. We have a short up right now with David Katz explaining the legal aspects of First Amendment protests at universities. That's a great one to share. There are others that include David Cay Johnston and all the rest. So I encourage you to share the show simply because it helps bring more into this universe, helps sustain us, and it costs you nothing. So those are all the free ways that you can, the free manner in which you can help us. Big shout out to Wes. Super sticker for 5, and he's a regular contributor on the show. Wes, we very much appreciate it, and today is no different than the other days. You are so consistent in your support. So I give you a second big shout out.
Big shout out.
Yeah. I wanted to see if there's anything else I needed to. Oh, this is a great comment, and it's a callback. Remember the story I was talking about in Law and Disorder with the PTA treasurer who took all the money? And it took them a few years to find out. But we mentioned that she had checks to reimburse herself for various expenditures during the summer when there was no school.
Right.
Dave says her summer checks were her prosciutto. That's a callback to yesterday, and you must watch this video. It's up there. The bizarre way in which a fake Saudi prince was discovered as fake. He maintained the fakery and successful impostorship for decades. He was able to make millions of dollars pretending to be a Saudi prince. But the thing that gave him away was he was sitting there at lunch, or maybe it was dinner, at a meal in any case, and he ordered prosciutto. And in a public setting like that, there'd be no way that you'd have a Saudi prince ordering pork.
No.
And that's what gave him away. So Dave, bravo for the callback, Dave, to yesterday. Very, very strong. And speaking of the PTA treasurer who ripped off the PTA, there are many nonprofits that get ripped off by their treasurers. The banks issue ATM cards, says Beth. I'm sure that's true, and we do read about that, you know.
Yeah.
But as Kim was mentioning, usually their co-signature is required, and, you know, there are ways that they try to ensure against that. But
Janet mentions that there's usually a yearly audit. That's true. They audit the PTA books every year. So how they missed it, weren't paying attention, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Janet also says, I'm the PTO auditor this year. So Janet has a position of some authority in all of this. And Chris, who can sometimes be troll adjacent, I would say.
Yeah.
He says Social Security was originally just for destitute seniors. Now young people are collecting it. It's bound to fail soon. Well, Chris, that is a bad take on it because that's not actually what Social Security was originally. It's not just something as a program to help destitute seniors. There are disability benefits associated with Social Security, and they're not new. They've been around for a long time. Social Security and the Social Security Administration was and continues to be a government agency that administers help, social help, in many different situations that have nothing to do with whether or not you're a senior citizen. So go back, read about what Social Security is, and then come here and you can share a conversation with us. But the idea that it's bound to fail soon, no. David Cay Johnston told you the reason that they run out of money. It's because the rich are sacking, that is to say, destroying the tax system such that they are not taxed in any kind of way that matters. As a result, those government revenues are down, revenues that would go into Social Security. So the support mechanisms for Social Security, which come from your payroll check, et cetera, they are being undermined and have been undermined by tax legislation and tax cuts. That's what's going on, Chris, okay? Not somehow that, oh, more and more people are getting handouts from Social Security. That's just not what is behind the failure, if there is a failure of Social Security. But the big news is that they are definitely looking at a timeline that's concerning, you know, a decade-long timeline. But there are also more complexities, and as we mentioned before, and Tony will do it, he'll put a link into David Cay Johnston's article on Social Security if you want to read more. If you're a senior or if you are an older member of our audience, you may want to read about that because there is some stuff in there. So, do I have time now, Tony? For I've got a pretty juicy way to finish the show with a brief, almost turbo version, but it's part deux of Law and Disorder.
In the criminal justice system, the people,
Pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care.
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law, you're the fuzz, the heat, you're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
Well, it's amazing. It's amazing indeed. How could you screw up one of the easiest and best paying jobs on television? It's happened. The weather guy at ABC, Rob Marciano, that handsome, hunky Rob Marciano, he is out.
What happened?
That's right. He is a...
Good day, sir.
That's right. According to sources familiar with what happened, he was fired after fellow ABC meteorologist Ginger Z, that sweet Ginger Z.
Girl, you just woo.
She heard about his outburst with a producer, reported it to management, and Rob Marciano, hunky Rob, they used to go to him as he's on a coastal setting somewhere. There's a big storm coming, David. Let me tell you, right now, I'm just seeing clouds forming. If you look at our map now, you can see there are severe thunderstorms that'll be here in a matter of minutes. All of that made up one of the easiest jobs one can have on television.
Kind of your job, right?
Yes.
At one
Even
time.
easier, because he had all these support people and graphics people doing it. But that's true. It's just, there he is.
Mm-hmm.
Rob Marciano. Well, anyway, there was a heated screaming match between Rob and one of the producers of Good Morning America. Following that outburst, the network's chief meteorologist, Ginger Z,
Girl, you just woo.
overheard the story, and she then decided to report the incident to network leadership. The reason she did that, it was not Marciano's first rodeo with this stuff. He had crossed the line on the set a few times. And let that be a warning to all of you who want to cross the line on this show.
What?
Why are you yelling?
It was previously reported that Marciano was fired following complaints by staffers over his behavior, which included anger issues. The actual incident that led to his termination had not been publicly revealed before this. He clashed with Z, Ginger Z, my loving, lovable, great Ginger Z. They clashed for years, Kim. Unreported, these clashes.
Why are you
You
yelling?
don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Everything looks like, oh, it's so, we all get along and everything's so great. And behind the scenes, they hate each other.
One source said, I think she brought out the worst in him.
No, don't blame Ginger. He's the one that had anger issues.
I blame you.
All right. He joined ABC News in 2014, previously had been banned from Good Morning America because there was an anger management issue at Good Morning America. He was banned in 2022. The banishment noted that Marciano had made another female colleague feel uncomfortable, that he was punished for, quote, improper behavior. An ABC insider telling the Daily Beast that hunky Rob Marciano's exile from the GMA tapings revolved not just around his anger, Kim, no, but also his tendency to, quote, overshare information with female staffers regarding his divorce. It created an awkward work environment. As for the shouting incident that prompted his firing, sources said that others witnessed Marciano's tirade, and soon Z, the network's top meteorologist, found out about it. She then reported the onset argument to management, and management said, we've seen too much from a hunky Rob Marciano, and it's time for him to take his hunkiness to Hunkville.
Good day, sir.
And leave Good Morning America. And Rob Marciano lets the easiest job in America slide through his fingers.
Sayonara, sucker.
Sayonara, Rob.
Sayonara, sucker.
Yeah. And lastly, in this turbo version of Law and Disorder, a man accused of kicking a bison at Yellowstone is injured and arrested.
No.
He's accused of kicking a bison in the leg at Yellowstone National Park. He was under the influence of... If you guessed alcohol, yes.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
So he was under the influence of alcohol. He was injured by the animal, later arrested. Clarence Yoder of Idaho Falls. He approached the bison too closely, within 25 yards, on a road about 7 miles east of the park's west entrance. Park rangers went to the area after getting a report of an individual who harassed a herd of bison and kicked one of the bison in the leg. They located the suspect's vehicle and stopped it in town. Rangers took the 40-year-old Yoder to a nearby medical facility where he was evaluated, treated, and released from medical care. The park did not have further details on the encounter or the nature of Yoder's injury, but Yoder faces 4 charges stemming from this arrest: being under the influence to a degree that may endanger oneself, disorderly conduct as to create or maintain a hazardous condition, approaching wildlife, and disturbing wildlife.
Not done.
He's done.
There's a name for that. I learned it the other day. Apparently this word has been around for a while. They call it a Turon. Tourist plus moron equals a Turon. Yeah, he's a total Turon. Kicking a bison. Seriously?
What an a-hole.
Totally.
Total a-hole.
Yeah.
That's Law and Disorder for today.
Tune in again next time for more Law and Disorder on The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out there.
Oh. I don't know. I hate to do it. I hate to wrap this up.
It was going so well, and now
it's going so well, and we have so much still to do. And tomorrow, John Rothman joins us. We'll talk about any number of things with John Rothman, Trump, the world at large, what's going on with the latest incursions into Gaza probably will come up. The mayoral race in San Francisco. You know, we were born in San Francisco, this show, and we keep an eye on San Francisco. The latest developments in that mayoral race have to do with the debate. Have you seen how everybody's kind of pulling back from the debate? They think the debate, the fix is in on the debate. It's sponsored by the wrong people. We'll talk to him because John actually thought about running for mayor of San Francisco. Yeah. So there's all of that. I think we've learned a lot about ourselves today, everyone. And so
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
I can comfortably step away and turn you over to Kim on the after party.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for your love and support, and until tomorrow, bye-bye.